All right, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Council, members of our staff, members of the public, welcome to our council meeting. It is the 14th of August, and so we're prepared to continue our council meeting. Council did meet in camera basically at 3:30, then we had a little break and we just came back. So we're happy to be back here and to get our meeting underway. So at this time, I'd like to speak our land acknowledgement. I'd like to begin our meeting by recognizing the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples of Canada as traditional stewards and caretakers of the land. We acknowledge that Clearview Township is located within the boundaries of Treaty 18, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Tiahuanacoa, the Wendat, and is the home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people as part of the intricate nationhood that reaches across Turtle Island. At this time of truth and reconciliation, we welcome the opportunity to work together towards new understandings and new relationships and ask for guidance in all that we do. Again, as always, I'm very proud and pleased to be able to say the land acknowledgement voluntarily as the mayor of Clearview Township. So council will continue with our agenda. Our agenda, like I said, we did go to closed session and then we have returned. And so we're at item number 2, approval of the agenda. So I'll read the recommendation and I'll look for a mover and seconder. Recommendation, be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby approve the agenda dated August 14, 2023 as presented. Mover, Deneen, thank you. Deputy Mayor Van Staveren, thank you. Any questions on the agenda today? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you. Disclosure, pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Is any member of any disclosures that are bringing forward tonight? Seeing none, if anything comes up during the meeting, please bring it forward. We'll deal with it right away. Now, council, we're going over to public participation period. We do have some members in the audience with us here today. I expect there could be some public participation period. I just want to check with our clerks. Did we receive anything electronically during the portal or through the portal?
Thank you, Your Worship. No, we did not.
Okay, thank you. So we did not receive any. The commentary is, be advised that comments and views expressed under the public participation period are not the views of the Township of Clearview, Council, or the administration. Each public participation is limited to 15 minutes. Each person is limited to 5 minutes. Questions and comments are to be directed to the mayor, and questions shall not refer to personnel matters, litigation, or potential litigation, or planning matters that have already had a public meeting or any item considered confidential. Remember to please share the time with your fellow citizens. And at this time, I look to the audience and say we have the microphone open and you're welcome to come forward if there's any members of the public who wish to speak in public participation period. Excellent. Hello, sir.
Hi there. My name's Josh. Might be a familiar face now. I live at the corner of Centerline and County Road 9. And I understand rumble strips have been taken off of the potential agenda, which I thank you guys for understanding our concerns. And I just wanted to put something out just to take into consideration when they're talking about speed reduction, which I understand is also on the agenda a little bit later. If a suggestion I could put out there for the speed reduction is to reduce the speed for as long of a stretch as we possibly could, since cars are being rerouted down to Centerline instead of Airport Road, which is a road that it's not designed to carry this volume of traffic. So the longer the stretch of a 60 kilometer instead of an 80, the more the mapping systems are going to put cars back onto Airport Road, and we're going to decrease the number of incidents on our back roads, which we've gathered quite a few people here, not just who live at the corner, but who live farther down Centerline, who are also experiencing the same issues, almost getting hit turning in their driveway with this rate of speed cars are driving at. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Josh. And again, I know you're a paramedic, so thank you for the services you do. Is there any other members of council who would like, or members of the public who would like to address council? Is anybody else? Please come forward. Hello.
Hi, I'm Grant Morgan. I live, we also are on Centerline Road and County Road 9. I just want to go along with what Josh is saying. I think rumble strips, I understand they're being taken off the list at this point in time, and speed reduction is going to be considered, and that's, you know, fine by us. That's a good thing. But the rumble strips, I think, is a way of penalizing local people when it's not really their problem. So necessarily that kind of came out wrong, but anyways, there's certainly lots of other options before the rumble strips. But anyways, that's about it.
All right. I'm going to disagree with you when you stated that rumble strips are penalizing people. I don't believe that they're penalizing the residents. Rumble strips, of course, are designed as part of a traffic management tool and an instrument to be able to use to help advise drivers of stop signs coming ahead. They're used in other areas in the province as well for notification of hills and these type of things. But I would say it's not there in any way to penalize local people.
Yeah, there's many options that should be considered before that.
Sure.
It is maybe a possibility in the future, but most people who come out to the country and want to live in the country, really, that's what they want, is peace and quiet. They understand that there's changes over time, but a lot of these changes have come at the benefits of Clearview. You guys are certainly benefiting from the people, all the vacationers and one thing or another coming up here. So if that's an issue, then, maybe a better intersection, a proper intersection is more in line rather than just simply rumble strips.
Okay. That's fair. Thanks
All right.
very much, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Any other members of the public would like to come forward? Hello. Hi.
My name's Donna.
Hi, Don.
I'm formerly a resident of Dufferin County, and the first adjustment I had to make when I moved to Clearview is you have no shoulders on your road. There's no room for error. My husband came home from work on Friday night. We live closer to Webster Road than we do to the corner of 9 and Centerline Road. I worked in the basement all day. I came out to sit on the deck. He's making a left-hand turn into our driveway as someone is right on his butt and laying on the horn. And it's kind of sad. The transport traffic, I sometimes will be sitting and it's not dawdling down the road. There seems to be a lot of excessive speed. So I would definitely be for reducing the speed as much as can be. There's a farmer across the road from us who's constantly moving large machinery and always in competition with the traffic, and something pretty devastating is probably soon to happen on that road.
All right. Before you run, can I just thank you, Donna? Can I just get your last name?
Hunking, Hunking.
Oh, okay. We got that. Thank you very much. And welcome to Clearview Township. Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to come forward and speak? Okay. Hello. Well, you better state it just so we all know you.
Yeah, so you don't forget. I'm Brenda Switzer. I live on the southeast corner of Centerline Road and County Road 9.
Yes.
There's nothing you can do about it, but I just want to mention what I saw on Saturday of the long weekend, where again, I really feel that the speed limit needs to be reduced. And it was a large tanker transport with a big tanker on coming down. I had company there. The fellow has been a trucker all his life. He's 74 now. And he was the one yelling, this guy isn't going to stop. He never geared down. He never tried braking. He just flew straight through, and he was doing more than the speed limit. Now, we usually have 3-4 cars lined up to turn north onto Centerline Road. And fortunately, there was nobody there at that time, or he would have killed them all. You know what a transport can do, the jackknife, and then people don't have a chance.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, this is how serious this corner's getting.
Yeah. Can I just ask, did you notify the police of that incident?
I did not. There was no names or anything on the truck. And like I say, going south on Centerline, is he going Alliston, Angus? Is he headed to Airport Road? I really don't know, but that's what we were discussing afterwards. I know my friend, he just, being a trucker all his life, nobody would have had a chance. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that that's how.
I appreciate that comment. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Is there any other members of the public who wish to come forward? Yes. Hello. Hi.
I'm Marlene Fuller. I live on the southeast corner of County Road 9 and 3-4 Side Road.
3-4, yes.
Yeah. So our driveways face County Road 9. So I was happy to hear that rumble strips are off the table. We've had some really bad accidents lately at our corner as well. We have people that turn around in our driveway because they miss 3-4 Side Road. And now is the time where people are going across the road, mushroom picking and turning around in the driveway. And there's been cars honking over this past weekend and the weekend before because they're pulling out onto County Road 9 and not being aware of the speed limit that the people are coming across because it's quite fast. So if speed reduction could be done on 3-4, that would be most helpful as well. And it is a big concern. The last accident was a bad one at the corner. That's the sweeper truck that went right through. So thank you for your time.
All right. No, thank you very much, Marlene. I appreciate your input and your comments. Is there any other members of the public who wish to bring forward a comment for a public participation period? Anybody else? Nobody else? Sir, come right forward.
At the July 10th meeting, I brought up the significant safety issue concerning the gazebo in Centennial Park regarding the height on the north side and the Ontario Building Code requirement to either have a legal railing installed or regrading to bring it into compliance. As a follow-up, I emailed the building department twice since then with zero reply. So I'd like to know, is there any update or any action planned in the future?
All right. I'll give you the answer that I know, and that is that I was advised that the site was inspected and viewed by our staff, and they found that it to continue to be within compliance. If you
So 23 3/4 inch drop from the top deck to the ground, which is the law, is compliance then?
No, I'm just saying that from their opinion that they shared with me that it was in compliance. I'm not telling you that that's my opinion. I'm telling you that's what was shared with me.
So they think that's compliant then? Is that what you're saying?
All of our bylaw our building and department inspections are done within compliance of the
Ontario Building Code.
That's what I understand.
Okay. Because it's
So-
not in code.
Yeah. If you need to discuss it, you can set up a meeting with the chief building official. I know he's here tonight, but I don't want to put him on the spot unless he wants to speak. So if you can set up a meeting, you could work through the CAO's office and you can have that discussion about your exact measurement of the structure. But the point is, Mr. Witzka, your point was raised, it was investigated, and you followed it up with an email, and it was investigated. So there you go.
As to the Creemore Echo story about the Walker agreement, what is the true cost to Clearview taxpayers since 2010? What legal fees have Clearview taxpayers incurred since this folly was proposed? What costs and studies have Clearview taxpayers incurred for this folly? Will the mayor come clean on total costs incurred by Clearview taxpayers, or will I need to apply for a Freedom of Information request to see the actual cost?
Yeah, I think I saw that commentary put on Facebook, and I thought about it very deeply and immediately thought that, we've been very clear and very open about the costs of what we spent. It's been very clear that there was a $7.5 million funding that came from Walkers. It's also very clear that gas tax dollars, which were grant money that came from the federal and provincial government, have been used legally and appropriately to fund some of the programming and the investigations that were done on that job. At this time, I don't have any specific numbers to share with you, but I do know that there is going to be an opportunity for our staff through the CAO's office to prepare some type of information that we can have as a report at a future time. We're still in the middle of it per se. We've got a new settlement agreement, and we're still working through it. But I can suggest to you, Mr. Witzka, you've asked this question many, many times. There has been no excessive spending of taxpayers' dollars on this project that came from the taxpayers directly of Clearview Township. There's been money spent through grant money that's been given to us. There's been money spent through part of the settlement agreement money that's been given to us. Certainly our time and our staff time is something that takes up a lot of time and can cost taxpayers money.
Finally, the last one, then I'm done. Who is responsible for the slow ghettoization of the main street in Stainer, from issues in Centennial Park to overgrown noxious weeds in the 1.1 million Brock Street beautification project to partially remove dead trees and overgrown weeds along Main Street? It's an eyesore. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. I like the way
Nothing's been done.
I like the way you phrase that opening line about the main street and who's responsible. Property owners on the main street are responsible for their properties. The street itself as a roadway is our responsibility, certainly as a township. The town does not have a BIA district in downtown Stainer. We do have an active chamber of commerce, but they're not specifically responsible for that either. So through a joint effort of the Public Works Department and the Recreation Department, we do look after the main street to the best that we can at this time, given the resources that are available across the entire township. So yes, we do have a responsibility, and yes, we are looking after it. You spoke about the tree. I'd like to speak to you about the tree, and the staff here know, and the CAO certainly knows, how frustrated I was to find the trees that were cut and the metal bracing still around the trunk of the tree. And the staff know that I went through the CAO and was kind of interested as to how that happened and why they haven't been cleaned up. And as it turns out, we're trying to get some bricks that match the bricks that are there so that before they pull it out, they can have the bricks and put them right back in. They also left the trunk there so that they can literally tie onto it with a backhoe. We understand how a backhoe works. You
Yeah,
can
I know.
tie
It's
onto
been
it
like
and
that
pull it
for
out.
3 years, Doug.
I
3
know.
years.
So this is the point, is we're, getting it done. It's getting cleaned up, and it's going to it's going to be done this year. So
Here, good. What about this, the shrubbery and the plants along Brock Street? Over the pigweed and thistles and stuff are higher than the existing plants that were planted. Nothing's been done. I went June 24th. I picked out some
please don't
weeds.
raise your voice. You don't need to, Dave.
June 24th, I went out and picked some weeds just to make a point and left them prior to the July 1st weekend, just to maybe the township guys mowing the grass would get a hint. Nothing was done. Next week, I painted orange around it. Maybe they'd get a hint. No hint. Now it's even worse than it was since then.
Yeah.
It's like you have no plan in place to be proactive in maintaining anything. You just spend, and think everything will be fine.
Well, thank you for your comment. That's not the way we see it, but we do appreciate your comment, Dave. Is there anyone else for public participation period who'd like to come forward to the microphone? No? Oh, please do. Chuck, nice to see you.
I would like, Chuck Arendt, I'd like to give an update. I was here a month ago. We discussed the intersection and the traffic calming on Centerline Road and County Road 9. On my return last night, up Airport Road from the city, at County Road 21, there were 8 cars deep waiting to come out onto County Road 9. At the Glencairn Road, at the top of south of Evening, right south of Evening, at the top of the hill where you can't see left or right, there was a dozen cars there lined up waiting to join and go south on Airport Road. And the road right after south of Evening that comes out, right after the S curve, there's a road there, Little Farmers Road that goes back to Centerline Road. Again, there was 8 cars lined up deep waiting to join Airport Road at 8 o'clock last night. On my way home, there was a collision there on a Sunday night. Airport Road from the bottom all the way up to here was bumper to bumper traffic all the way headed south. So it's just an update that as our tourism grows here in town, in Clearview Township, there are more traffic. Something needs to be done. I'm just here to apply pressure. Cheers.
All right. Thank you for our traffic reporter for giving us an update, but I appreciate your input. And all kidding aside, I've said it for years, the traffic volumes across our whole township are increasing, I would say, on every road in our township. And certainly the pressures we see on Centerline Road, 3-4, County Road 42 itself, Airport Road itself is just packed with cars. So there's an awful lot of north-south travel going on, but thank you for that update. I'm pretty confident that our Public Works Department are aware of this problem. It is the summer season. Certainly our neighbors in Wasaga Beach and Collingwood and other places north of here are, perhaps benefiting from all of this traffic that might destinate there. We do have some destinations here in our township, but often you don't see the lineups like you see like that, but nevertheless. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you. Any other further comments from the members of the public? It's been a very active participation period. Seeing none. All right, I'll close public participation period. And again, remind people, there is, of course, the opportunity to use the electronic form online on our webpage for public participation period. So it's also opportunity for people to do that. Council, we are going to move on in the agenda to item number 5, which is a deputation and presentation. So at this time, the Clearview Aviation Employment Lands Community Infrastructure Housing Accelerator, a bylaw request. We have with us representatives from the ownership, as well as a member from MHBC Planning, Urban Design and Landscape Architecture, Chris Menzies, who, as she approaches the microphone, I just want to let council and the public know, Chris shared with me just before this meeting began, this is her final public presentation in her role as she's entering retirement. So welcome. Thank you for joining us here at council at Clearview Township, and it's great to see you after your lengthy career.
Thank you so much, Your Worship. And after 35 to 135 years, I can't know, it's somewhere in between of representing a whole bevy of great clients. It is fantastic to be in front of Clearview for my last presentation. I had an opportunity to do my last public meeting a couple of weeks ago, and this is my last presentation in front of council. So thank you so much, Your Worship, for that.
Well done.
We've I've had the pleasure of being in front of this council many times. So it's great to be here again. So we have a very short presentation, if I could ask that be put up. So once again, my name is Chris Menzies. I'm a planner and a partner at MHBC Planning. I'm here with my client, Raymond Niceforo, who is the president and owner of Clearview Aviation Business Park. And we're here to speak to council about a request that we brought into the planning department, which is subject to a staff report. And the report number is PB 69/2023, which is further on your agenda. And the reason why that report is here is we have requested council consider entering into a process called a Community Infrastructure Housing Accelerator Order, or CHIA order. So you'll hear me talk a little bit about a CHIA order, but I thought it might behoove council and members of the public to understand a little bit about the site and why we're here to ask that. So if I could have the next slide, please, or can I do that? So once again, this is myself and Ramo and our two companies. Next slide, please. So just to orient everybody, this project is located beside what was known as the Collingwood Airport. And on the north side, it is the new Tecumseh or regional water line system. So it's an elongated property that is partially approved for development, and I'll explain that in a moment. We have the next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about the history of the site because it has quite a long history. So council may be aware that in 2001, the township amended your official plan documents to set up an economic hub or economic employment area surrounding the airport. And effectively, in planning terms, I'll talk in planning terms because I have those blinders on, effectively identified that this area could be considered for employment lands, but an applicant would need to bring an application to do that. So the stage was set, but it was not yet approved. So through 2012 to 2018, my clients were involved in a County of Simcoe official plan amendment to, on their lands, have approved aviation employment uses. After that's completed, they qualified to apply to the township for a township official plan amendment to allow for aviation employment uses. After that was completed, they qualified for a rezoning application to rezone the lands for aviation employment uses. And subsequent to that, a draft plan was done, which allows the roads and the blocks to be identified for future development on the property. So all that took from 2012 to 2018. Next slide. Then the pandemic occurred. So I don't think I need to remind council that the aviation industry was hard hit by the pandemic, as many businesses were. And as such, my client is desirous to have council consider expanding the uses on the property to include aviation employment uses, but also to include traditional employment uses. So the ask we have before you today is not to consider that today, but to consider a process to get us there. So at some point in the near future, that question will be before you. Yes, can I have the next slide? So I just want to reiterate, the report that you're going to see from your planning director explains very clearly what a CHIA is, a community accelerator order. And it is a council initiated and proponent initiated process. So we're hoping council will see fit to direct staff to enter into that process with us, partly because it's a new process. You don't have that process or the protocol set up yet. You don't have a fee structure set up for it yet. So we thought it would be prudent to come and ask council to direct your staff to enter into this new process. And your staff will then take the opportunity to see reports and studies from us and come back at a future date to ask whether or not council would like to see something enhanced on this property in order to bring development here. And before I close, I just want to remind council that the site today is approved as an employment site for aviation uses. So my client is very close to a position to build, for example, an aviation wheel hub manufacturer. So they can garner a property, somebody can come in and build a building, they can employ dozens of people, they can pay municipal taxes, they can pay development charge taxes, as long as they're manufacturing, in this particular scenario, airport, airline wheel hubs. What they cannot do is manufacture truck wheel hubs, because that's not related to the aviation industry. So that's the future question we will put before you. But the question today is, can we enter into this process and pay the fees which have been recommended by Ms. Khan in her report to go through that process so we can properly put that question to council once there's been a full public process and once staff has had an opportunity to determine what reports they need to see and determine whether or not they're going to bring forward a recommendation for approval or not at a future meeting. So in short, your worship, we're asking you to start a process, and myself or Mr. Nicefero would be happy to answer any questions.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Menzies. That's great. Members of council, do you have any questions to Chris or staff in regards to the presentation? No? All right. Oh, yes, Paul.
I just wanted to reiterate to the staff, we've had some discussions. This will be a self-service project.
Correct. The site has the ability to self-service. That's correct.
Okay. Members of council, any further? Yes, go ahead, Robert.
I'm just wondering, do you have any proportions of what you might keep for aviation purposes and what portion you might let go for regular businesses?
So through your worship, I don't do marketing, so we do not, but the way the planning would work is both could happen. So it isn't necessarily, I'm sure council appreciates some of these businesses want to have shovel-ready land. So it's a matter of who might come and who wants to bring their business to Clearview, and we want to provide an open playing field for numerous types of industry to be able to consider coming to Clearview and employ some of your residents.
Okay. Any other members of council with any other questions? Okay. Sorry, Marty, hello.
Thank you, Your Worship. Did we not already apply for a community infrastructure housing accelerator fund type thing before? What was the one that Kelly was working on?
That's the grant through Infrastructure Ontario.
Okay,
It's
so
about
separate from this then.
It is a separate
Okay.
thing. That's correct. That was the federal government program for housing.
Okay, and this,
Match monies. So it's not specifically connected to this.
okay, I thought it was.
Okay. All right. Good clarity. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anything further?
And if I may, your worship,
Sure.
on behalf of Ramo and myself, thank you for your time.
Listen, Chris, thank you very much. And again, thank you for your presentations and your knowledge and your ability to maneuver around the wishes of council and the wishes of your clients. And we've appreciated you being that great balance.
It's a pleasure to be here for my last meeting, everybody.
Good job. Ramo, you've done well to bring this lady on board. Thank you. Well done, Chris. How about that? Good stuff. 2 more weeks, right? 2 more weeks. There you go. Then she's on a beach somewhere or playing tennis somewhere. Who knows? All right. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. And council, we're going to move on then. We are at item number 6, which is public meetings. There are no public meetings tonight on our agenda. We were just talking about that. Council, we're the clerk was just asking whether we should move up that report. I'm sort of back and forth. I think we can get through most of our information and we'll be able to deal with that. If you want to bring it forward, we could. Okay, we'll just move forward or move forward. Okay, we're going to move forward. Carry on. Approval of our council meeting minutes. Recommendation be it resolved that Council of Township Clearview hereby approve the minutes of the July 24, 2023 regular meeting and the July 26, 2023 special meeting as presented. Mover and seconder, Mr. MacArthur, Mr. Broderick, thank you. Any questions on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Good, that carries. Business arising for the minutes, anything from the business arising from the minutes? Seeing none. Communications from the mayor. Council did meet in camera, so I do have a resolution that I'm going to read from our closed session. And I'll look for a mover and seconder on this resolution. Again, council did meet and we had quite a discussion and we've met with our solicitor. And so this is a result of that discussion. Recommendation is such. Recommendation be it resolved that council of the Township of Clearview hereby direct the township solicitor to settle the Kurtosi cannabis bylaw appeal in accordance with the terms discussed in closed session and attend the Ontario Land Tribunal hearing to confirm the settlement. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Mr. Walker, Mr. Beelan, thank you. Any questions from floor? Okay, we had a good discussion in camera. Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay. Also on the mayor's, we do have the Childhood Cancer Awareness Month request for a proclamation and flag raising. So council, there will be a flag raising on September the 11th, very significant day in our world history. But at 2 p.m. in our community, we'll be raising a flag. So I have a resolution here that I'll ask for your support. Be it resolved that council of the Township of Clearview hereby support the request and proclaim the month of September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and that the flag be raised to bring awareness to and to support the many little heroes that are fighting, have fought, or have passed far too early due to this disease on September the 11th at 2 p.m. at the Clearview Emergency Hub. I'll take a mover and seconder, please. Ms. Deneen, thank you. Seconded by Mr. Broderick. Any questions? I'll just comment that I participated in this last year as well and met some very brave young people from our community and very brave and patient parents of young people in our community. So I think this is a very worthy cause. Members of council, you got a motion? I'm ready to call it. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you on the 11th at the fire hall. That's all I have from communications from the mayor. We're going to go to our county reports. Council does have 3 items on our agenda from county report. Is there anything from there that the members would like pulled? They have any questions or discussion on? All right, I'll just mention them. The County of Bradford, West Gwillimbury announced their summer 2023 pedestrian vehicular impacts for affordable housing build. There's a very good information there in regarding to how the new affordable housing build's going on in Bradford, West Gwillimbury. County is accepting nominees for the Age-Friendly Business and Individual Recognition Awards. Very worthy thing to have across our community and across the county. And county does expand. County Council expands plan to create new affordable rentals in the city of Barrie. That's part of the big project on Rose Street, which is going to be certainly dominating our attention at County Council. Mr. Deputy Mayor?
I'll just speak to that a bit for the public and this council. We initiated a plan to build affordable housing and move some of our social services onto Rose Street, which for those who don't know, it's the old police station property in Barrie. We sent our committee back to revisit it, and that trying to increase the number of units by switching from 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms to bachelor suites, we'll call them 1 bed and more 1 bedrooms. We've been able to increase the density. We are also running into a situation with some of our other social services wish to move to that property. We have some lease problems in downtown Barrie, so we are aggressively looking at intensifying that property's development. So it's very positive. We've got everybody on side now, it sounds like, but it's going to be an excellent program. We are definitely well aware as county takes care of a lot of our social housing and social needs, we are well aware of the problems we have, and this only goes through support Clearview as we move along as well. So there's some good things going on, and it's a lot of work, and the people that are working with it sure have their heart into it. So anyways, just a little comment.
Excellent comments, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah.
I concur with you completely. And it's interesting. In my time at County Council, we've focused an awful lot on waste management programs. This one is becoming a great part of our agenda, and it does consume a lot of our attention, and that's good because we're going to solve this and we're going to do our best we can across the whole county. And it's an ongoing effort.
It's tying in, not only we were looking, we had some discussions before this meeting a bit about affordable housing and sizes of houses, and we're looking, what can we do to create more employment? We mean, every community around is fighting it. We depend on Simcoe County to be our leader. And so that's really important. We as a local municipality can only do so much. We can help with bylaws and creating opportunities. And I think we're going to see a lot of that come forward in our official plan amendments and stuff like that. We will be working towards assisting those programs, we'll say. So
you bet.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That's our county report for now. Council, we are going to now move to our ward reports. I believe I started with Mr. Walker last time. Mr. Broderick gets to go first. Hope that's okay with everybody. I just go completely across the table that way. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Your Worship. Let's start with July 25th. Attended the Fierte Simcoe Pride flag raising. Also on the 25th, the Creemore BIA meeting. July 26th, partook in the Clearview Municipality bus tour. That was very educational. July 28th, attended the meeting between Neil Owen from Blue Mountain Snowdrifters, Alay Pomonville from Central Ontario ATV Club, Dan Perot, our Deputy Director of Public Works, Stephen Riley and Lloyd from Cherokee Contracting, and myself regarding the finishing of the Christie Bridge. And I'm happy to report that there was a meeting of the minds and an agreement was made. August 3rd, attended the special Clearview Chamber of Commerce working meeting regarding the Clearview Tasty Tours map. The 11th, attended the training session for the Gathering of the Classics fly-in at the Edenvale Aerodrome. And this past Sunday, August 13th, attended the Gathering of the Classics fly-in, working with Central Ontario ATV Club, supporting the event. The event is aircraft taxiing escorts and other assigned duties. Rhonda and I participated as Razor Uber driver and food delivery system for the volunteers. In spite of the lingering off and on morning and late afternoon sprinkles and rain, it was a well-attended event with dozens of aircraft and rows of classic and custom cars and trucks. Everyone I talked to seemed to enjoy themselves anyway. And that is it for me.
Thank you very much, Councillor Broderick. It was a good event at the Gathering of Classics. It's great. Mr. MacArthur.
Thank you, Your Worship. I kind of like to report that we've had maybe a little bit of downtime in mid-July, first part of August. Once again, great events going on around the community and in Creemore especially. And with regards to the classics. I attended that for the first time ever, and I'm glad to see that they made the announcement to switch days because of the weather, and that farmers aren't the only one that have to work around the weather this year. So that's all I have.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Glad to see you at all these events. Deputy Mayor, please go right ahead.
I think it was a family affair because most of us were at that gathering of the classics. And one of the comments or compliments I'll say, like, it's a very well run event if you haven't been there. But it was so neat to see our Clearview Township tents being utilized. And that's a good PR thing for us to wave our flag and say, hey, it's well organized. I mean, we're competing with the Boots and Hearts and the likes. It's a busy weekend for a lot of people, but the people that were there sure appreciated our community for that. And it's a great venue for the way they ran it. So, and continue to people recognize our music in both in Creamore and our music in the park on Thursday nights. We only have 2 weeks left for Stainer, so please come out. If you haven't been out, come and watch it. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. You're right. Additionally to the tents, we also had many of our staff there. Our tourism students were working, assisting with the programs, as well as the members of the library were there. So it's a great event. Good event for sure. Turning over to Councillor Deneen. Hello, Phyllis.
Hello there. Thank you very much. Nottawa Hall, we had our meeting on the 10th, on Thursday, the 10th, and I just wanted to put out there, I know it's not till October 14th, but Saturday, October 14th, it's part of our Small Halls Festival. We're doing our second annual apple harvest dinner. It's going to start at 5:30. It's catered by Men with Knives. Not Ottawa is doing the concert. It's $50 per person. They're going to have a limited amount of concert-only tickets for $30 or for $25. There's only 30 of those tickets available. I just want everybody to know that they're already selling. We've already had sales for it. So just if anybody wants to go, we sold out last year, and just get your tickets as soon as you can. And Sunday, August 6th, the Ottawa firefighters held their open house. I wasn't able to attend, so I'm going to let Mayor Measures speak of that. And he can tell you a little bit more about it. I understand it was very well attended, and it was a lot of fun for the families.
Thank you. I'll get to that when it comes to be my turn. Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Beelan, Councillor Beelan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I attended July 25th. I attended the Fierte Pride flag raising. The next day, July 26th, I attended the Clearview bus tour, which was fantastic. We've had 2 weekends off without an accident at Centerline and County Road 9. And then yesterday, there was an accident there again for the 14th accident, I believe, this year. That's it.
And such good news. Thank you for that. I'm shrugging my shoulders as to what to say. I know. Mr. Walker, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. The 26th again to the roads tour. And then on August the 2nd, I went to Meaford to join in the Main Street America, sponsored by the Meaford BIA and Chamber. It is a company that Meaford have brought in to look at how to improve their BIA. They had various points. It's basically based on community mind, community to decide how to make the downtown, and municipality must be a partner. There's all kinds of things to it. I won't elaborate, but if any of members wish to see, I can give you the email address. London is also involved. They are also part of this program. A lot of it is states. Michigan is also involved. A lot of their information is free online. So if anybody wants to go, I have the email addresses for you to see if you wish to go. Thank you, Your Worship.
All right. Thank you very much. I've got a few items I want to talk about. Council, I was honored to be a guest at the Peacekeepers Day down in Essa Township. I was there with members of the peacekeeping community, members of the Legion, members of our regular forces, many retired regular forces members that were there. Major General Lewis McKenzie, retired, was also there as one of our speakers. It was a fantastic event. It was an honor to be there representing Clearview Township, and also to salute and acknowledge and shake the hands of many of our peacekeepers who have served our country in various places around the world. So it was really, really something to be there. And if you've ever down to Essa, dropping into Angus, the little triangular shaped park is a beautiful memorial to peacekeeping. And it has some somber moments in it because there are certainly people that have been lost as peacekeepers and those defending democracy. But the park is also enriching to look around and be very proud of the work of peacekeepers. So I encourage you to take a chance to tour around that. So it was really nice to join Mayor McDonald and many other members of County Council there. It was great. I do want to mention that. I also want to mention, yes, Small Hall Festival. Small Hall Festival is coming up. And I say this every year, but our beautiful Small Hall Festival, get your tickets early because there's small occupancy. They will sell out. They will sell out, and you will be disappointed that you wanted to get a ticket and you didn't get a ticket. So get a ticket, go online, get your tickets right away for a Small Hall Festival and help the community support these small halls. It's a fantastic, entertaining events that are spread out all across our community. So please do. The garden party is coming up at Eco Park, which is happening at the end of the month. So that's another one you want to get a ticket for too, by the way, which is terrific. The CIO and I were at it last year, along with many other members of council. And John and Broderick, I think you were there too. It was a great event. And, supporting the volunteers that work in Eco Park, as well as actually enjoying some of the amazing food that's growing right there. So it's a wonderful event put on by the volunteers at Eco Parks. That's coming up. And then the Ottawa Firefighters Association event, which Councillor Deneen mentioned, that was a lot of fun to see the community members come out with their youngsters and get a chance to see the fire truck and talk to the firefighters and maybe operate the hose a little bit and just to have a bit of an open house. But I want to give a great shout out to 5 members of the Ottawa Firefighters Association. These are 5 volunteer firefighters with us, including one of the officers, or one who just became an officer. And they were doing a fundraiser for cancer at that event. And they basically set up the rowing machine, that absolutely horrible rowing machine that you do for exercise. They sat on that rowing machine the whole time we were there. They were gone in shifts, and they did 6,300 meters. Sorry, kilometers is a lot. 6,300 meters of rowing in that 2-hour process. So it was quite impressive because they were sure going at it. Like they would go for, 2 or 3 minutes, and then they'd switch and the next person. And they raised a significant amount of money. I don't have the tally right here, but congratulations to our volunteer firefighters who, show their support for our community in many, many ways. So it was really nice to be there. And Councillor Deneen, we'll call you up for next year. Okay, you and I on the rowing machines. What do you say? Not a chance. All right, Council, I want to bring something up, and it's a difficult topic, so I'm just going to do my best to be as polite about it, but it's becoming really, really frustrating to, spend a lot of taxpayers' dollars on really wonderful events and wonderful things, wonderful assets we have across our community. It's been really, really heart-wrenching to find out after all the work and all the investments we've made in things that make our community a great place to live and work and to play and enjoy, that vandalism has yet again struck across our community. And so particularly in and around Stayner, there has been a significant number of vandalism acts that are really disappointing, like just heart-wrenching to find out that, stuff is destroyed. We have some tables that have recently been damaged to where they're not repairable over at our over by our pool. We've had some significant damage to outhouses. We have to put Johnny on the spots on our various events and various parks. We put these out there because people need them and want to be able to, have a spot to, use an outhouse. And the reality is that if it gets damaged, it gets taken away, and then it won't be there. And so what's the point in damaging something that we all need? Like, really, I don't understand it. So vandalism is striking our town right now. And as the mayor, it's really frustrating and very disappointing and disheartening. And so I just want to put it out there for the community to know, that we don't have endless pockets. And when we spend money on these things, on these tables, and we spend money on on our events and so on, they can, you know, you're just wasting our money by going out there and being vandalistic and wrecking things and spray painting and this type of stuff. It's just got to stop. Like, we're doing the best we can here, and we're trying to get the police involved, and they're stretched thin in their resources. And, you know, we thank them for their service, but the reality is that they got to get out here and we got to do something about it. So I'm just disappointed. I just want to share that. I want to have a minute to vent before we get into the deep part of our meeting, but I wanted everybody to know we're paying attention to this. You know, if we have to make tough decisions about taking these Johnny on the spots out, or taking tables away, or shutting down facilities because we can't keep up with vandalism, then that's a disappointing thing about our, you know, just, it would be just straight up disappointing. So I put it out there to our community to reach out to your young people in your community and, you know, have that conversation. Vandalism hurts everybody and costs us all. So let's not do this. Okay. There you go. I finished venting. How's that? Thank you, folks. All right. Council, thank you for your award reports. That was excellent. Council now has a motion in front of us, which is COU 003-2023. So this was added to our agenda underneath ward reports. So I presume it came from a ward councillor, and yet it doesn't say it on here, but I'm going to say, Marty, did you put this in?
Yes, 004, not
004. You are correct. Thank you for that. Thank you, Marty. So Councillor Beelan, I'll read this recommendation and I'll consider you the mover, and then I'll look for a seconder afterwards. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Council. All right. Be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby one, receive report 004-2023, speed reduction on Centerline Road dated August 14, 2023. And item 2, the Council approve reducing the speed limit to 60 kilometers per hour on Centerline Road, northbound and southbound, approaching the intersection of County Road 9, with the exact distance to be determined by the Deputy Director of Public Works in consultation with the Township's traffic consultant. And item 3, the Council approve reducing the speed limit to 60 kilometers per hour on the 3-4 side road, northbound and southbound, approaching the intersection of County Road 9, with the exact distance to be determined by the Deputy Director of Public Works in consultation with the Township Traffic Consultant. And item 4, that a bylaw to reduce the speeds in these two roads, outlining the exact distances, be presented to Council at the September 11th, 2023 Council meeting. This motion will be made by Councillor Beelan. Can I have a seconder? Mr. MacArthur. Mr. MacArthur, thank you. All right. Mr. Beelan, I'll give you the opportunity to speak first as you brought forward the motion, and then perhaps we can look to our staff for any help too. Go ahead, Marty.
Thank you, Your Worship. I am very concerned about all the accidents that are happening lately at Centerline and even at 3-4. Those intersections are very similar. I have done numerous phone calls to various people. I know I wanted information on the rumble strips because I believe if people don't know there's a stop sign, the rumble strips are worth it. From what I'm gathering from the police and from Simcoe County is they feel most people are stopping or almost stopping. It's just a matter they aren't looking carefully enough when they take off. Although I have to argue with that accident at 3-4, that guy did not stop. That guy, for some reason, didn't know there was a stop sign there. Chris Doherty of Simcoe County, he's an engineering technician, has assured me that they have ordered flashing beacons, the flashing lights for the stop signs at Centerline, not at 3-4. So those will be installed as soon as they get them, which is good news. I think that will be sort of doing the same job that rumble strips would do. The background, I've looked at, talked to numerous traffic engineers and that. And when you look at Sunnydale Corners, the speed is reduced for about 400 meters before the intersection. It's just to slow the traffic in case someone does make a mistake and go through a red light. The accident won't be as severe. So I think this is a good thing to do at these intersections. We don't have control of the intersection on County Road 9, the speed there. The county does, so we can't do anything about that speed limit, but we can do about the speed limit on the two roads approaching County Road 9, our roads. I think it'd be a good idea to reduce the speed. And I've talked to various people about how far back it should be. At Cashtown Corners, it's 400 meters. The traffic engineers say if you put it too far back, then people start tending to pass people before the intersection, which is making people speed up instead of slow down as they approach the intersection. They advised 3, 4, 500 meters. I've gone to these intersections, 500 meters makes sense to me, 400 meters makes sense, somewhere in there. We'll leave it up to these guys. I think it'd be a real good idea. And if you look, we've had this traffic study done in my background. It said that drivers tend to speed. It shows the number of accidents there, 33 accidents over 5 years. We've had 14 in a half a year. So the volume of traffic is up. I don't have volume counts, but talking to Chris Doherty, I said, it'd be nice if we could have traffic lights. He said, we are a long ways away from the volume of traffic to warrant traffic lights. I don't know how much traffic you need, but he said we're a long ways away from it. So this is my solution to some of the problems we're having there. Thank you.
Thanks, Marty. It's a good report, and thank you very much for your work on it. And I appreciate you putting in your input on that. Yes, Councillor Denis.
I was wondering if you would consider just a number 5 to that. That council direct the clerk's office to draft a letter to the County of Simcoe asking for consideration to reduce the speed on County Road 9 in the areas of 3-4 Side Road and Centerline Road.
Great idea. Thank you, Phyllis.
We're going to consider that a friendly?
Yes.
Robert? Okay, then that'll be a friendly amendment. Item number 5 added on there. Okay. Is there any other questions or comments that people want to bring forward? Any questions to our staff? I'm looking around. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment in reading that extensive traffic study. Now, I remind you, it's 21. Is that when it was done, Dan? I believe. Your worship, it was 2020. So to me, it's maybe a little pre-COVID, pre-traffic issues, but I was like, Centerline Road was down the list considerably for the big time going over the speed limit as I read it. It was maybe halfway through, I think, which kind of shocked me. So, but we still have a problem, and I think it's changed in the last year and a half for sure. So fully think this is another initiative, but in the long run, I think we need to keep working with the county engineers and whatnot and see if there's Marty, I've mentioned before, a roundabout would be ideal, but that's way down in the future too, probably much like traffic lights. So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other members? Mr. Walker, I saw your hand.
Thank you, Your Worship. I totally agree with the speed reduction. I think we also need to further look on Centerline and 3-4 right to the north. That whole section we need to look at in speed reduction. Living off on Sunnydale off of Centerline, I'll tell you, it's nuts at that corner of 26 and Centerline. It's also nuts at 3-4 and 26. So I do believe that reducing the speed limit and of course, Public Works will let us know the distance. But I'm apprehensive with the fact that it's not going to matter. We can reduce that speed limit to 30 if we want to, but people are going to come over the top of that hill on Centerline and they're still going to do their 80. We can do what we can do, and what we can do is adjust the speed. We can't control it and we can't enforce it. But by taking that step of reducing the speed and having hopefully the beacons lights go on, and maybe even having to go to rumble strips at some point, and maybe even having to extend the distance that we and maybe put on some of our country roads that are highlighted as the quick way to the north. Maybe it's time to look at some of those roads and reduce some of those speeds right from top to bottom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker, for your comments. Any other members of council? Got any questions or comments? All right. You're not asking questions. Oh, go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, I have talked to
myself.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have talked to the mayor of Essa, and as you know, they've installed some cameras that issue tickets to people speeding. I'm getting more information from them. I'm keeping an eye on them. It's always an alternative here as well for us to maybe install some cameras, maybe speed tables, but you need the speed reduced first before you can do that. So I think there's things we can do further, and cameras might be one of them. It might have the same effect as lowering the speed limit the whole way. So there you go.
All right. Perfect. Okay, I'll divert my attention to the camera comment that you just made. The the CAO and I just attended a CPAC meeting this morning with the inspector from the OPP Huronia West Detachment, and the members from Springwater Township were also there too. So we had good conversation about police and police enforcement across our whole region. We got a good report about activities. The police are there. They're doing all types of investigations, crime and traffic and so on, all the other jobs that they have to do. We did talk briefly about the program of municipalities entering into speed cameras, photo radar that's situated in a permanent location and can issue. And so it's still being investigated. I know ESSA is taking a little different path in the city of Barrie. The city of Barrie entered into an agreement with LAS, which you'll find out about at Roma, a little more information there. So we're not exactly sure how ESSA is executing this opportunity, but we're going to learn some more as well. And so we are looking into it, as are the OPP. Yes, that may be something that this municipality or other municipalities like ours can look at in the future. But it is a bit of onerous bureaucracy behind the ownership of the data that gets produced as a result of it. So there's the CAO and I were quite surprised at the bureaucracy behind it all, but we're going to investigate it for sure. So if I may, that is something that we can move to another time at another council meeting to talk about speed cameras, but it is on the radar, so to speak. Okay. Now, I would like to bring to something else. So I'd like to talk to Dan. Dan, in here, it does mention it a couple of times about you setting the distance as to what an appropriate distance would be if council were to decide to make this. What tools do you use to make that determination? Is there a handbook on this, or is there something that you use just in road design through the consultants' work?
Thank you, Your Worship. And I'm going to rely on our traffic consultant. He's the expert. Councillor Beelan brought this matter up already, but you don't want to have the speed reduced too far in advance where people that just don't obey the speed limit will unnecessarily and unsafely pass another vehicle that is attempting to do the speed limit. So there is a spot in there. Councillor Beelan mentioned 400 or 500 meters, 500 meters. It also depends on the design of the road, so that where the hills and sags are and coming down, especially coming southbound on Centerline Road, you don't want to have it too far north where that changes, where somebody coming over that hill that the speed's reduced all of a sudden, there's a vehicle going slower than they are going, or that would normally go. So just in consultation with our traffic consultant, I'm going to get those appropriate distances and we'll have that back for September 11th.
Okay. Further to this topic though, if I may, Dan, I'd like to just first of all thank you from our last council meeting. I asked you a question that I didn't prepare you for, and that was to find out what you as the road authority can do to assist us with this without having to go to council for approvals to do it. Certainly this speed reduction recommendation that's on the table right now is something that council can do. Well, that's something you don't do. Like, it's set by council. So this recommendation shows me that we're working together and understanding. But are there further things that you can do as a public works director and a road authority that can help us mitigate some of the speed on this road or assist us with this intersection or both these intersection problems?
If council may have noticed, placing visual cues on the roadway, I'm a big believer in that, as far as, placing the word stop on the road. It's a visual cue that some people will obey and some people will just not obey. We have plans through our paint contractor. They're sourcing a stencil for ahead. So in the coming weeks, at the stop ahead signs, we'll be writing on the road in paint, stop ahead. So some visual clues that way. With as far as the actual intersection itself, like Councillor Beelan had mentioned, it's a county controlled intersection. So So a flashing beacon over the stop sign would also potentially help in that situation. I hesitate to include more signage. Too much signage it becomes just part of the scenery and people don't pay attention to it. But I think there's maybe a proposal later on that we may have another solution that Councillor Beelan's notice of motion
Right.
later on.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to bring that up right now or not.
No, I appreciate that. We'll let the process move forward. But Dan, what I was trying to get to is that, as a road authority, when you and your staff see and identify that there's a condition on the road that brings question to the abilities of drivers to manipulate it safely, you can take actions to deal with it without having to come to council. Like, you can just deal with it, right? So that's what I think is really important for this council to know. And I was trying to make that point last week, and I'm trying to make it again this week, that we appreciate you and the responsibility you take as the road authority to make those decisions, right? Within the rules of the MTO and handbooks and the responsibility. But council has a responsibility to do some steps, as do you and your department have other responsibilities to fulfill those requests. So I just want to make sure that we all understand each other and appreciate that there's there's a difference of level of responsibility between us, and we have to all do this for the betterment of making the roads safer in our community. So thank you for the work that you're doing. So we're going to hopefully get through this particular discussion, and then we'll see a bylaw presented to us with some outlining of exact distances as outlined in the motion, and we'll get that to us at our next council meeting. In the meantime, we may see some more paint on the road says stop ahead. Is that correct, Dan?
That is correct, Your Worship.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And I just want to add too that, some of the reports that I hear and see or video evidence that people passing at a stop sign, those are habit. I don't even call them habits. They're just things that I don't think anybody could ever control. And what we're trying to do is do the most that we can. And
that's right.
It's disheartening to see some of those actions or hear about some of those actions as well.
It is so. Thank you very much, Dan. Again, I'm not trying to press you, but thank you very much for your help. Ma'am, during a council meeting, you have opportunity at public participation. So just letting you know. So certainly at the end of the meeting, we can have a conversation. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Members of council, is anything further? Nothing further? Okay, we have a friendly amendment. Just to refresh everyone's memory, the friendly amendment says, Madam Clerk, can you just refresh it?
Thank you, Worship, through you to the rest of council. The friendly amendment is to add section 5, which is that council direct the clerk's office to draft a letter to the county of Simcoe asking for consideration to reduce the speed limit on County Road 9 in the areas of the 3-4 side road and center line road.
Very nice. The deputy mayor and I will present that. Be happy to do that. All right, members of council, is there anything further? We've got a mover and seconder on the motion. Council, I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? And that's a unanimous decision. Council, thank you very much. Mr. Perot, I look forward to your report on the 11th. And again, we appreciate the work that you're doing. All right. Okay, we're going to move on. We have our building department reports. We've got a couple items to get through. And then we want to talk about the aviation business park, unless council wants to bring that forward now. Just saying. Okay. We'll keep reading. Zoning bylaw amendment for 111 George Street and 101 Edward Street East. Be it resolved, the council of the township of Clearview hereby receive report PB 031-2023 zoning bylaw amendment for 111 George and 101 Edward Street East dated August 14, 2023, and that zoning bylaw for the lands municipally known as 111 George Street and 101 Edward Street East, Creemore, legally described as part of Lot 43, part of Lot 44, Plan 315, north parts of Lot 35, 36, Plan 315, The CNR right-of-way, formerly Creemore, now in the Township of Clearview, is presented to council for approval at the September 11th, 2023 council meeting. That is a long one. Okay. Mover and seconder on this motion. Where are we? Mr. Broderick, Mr. Deputy Mayor, thank you. Any questions? Hi, staff. Roz, anything you want to add to this very lengthy, wordy recommendation?
Thank you, Mayor Measures, and good evening, Council. I just thought I'd give you a little brief overview. This one has been in the works for some time. And so tonight we are asking Council to look at a recommendation report that would approve some zoning bylaws to zone lands for 57 residential units, 27 singles, and 30 townhouse units. Some of you will be aware that the public meeting for the draft plan of subdivision application as well as the zoning bylaw amendment was held on May 10th of 2021. And just to point out that this report is only addressing the zoning on these lands at this time. The township is currently undertaking a master servicing plan in Creemore, and for that reason, the draft plan of subdivision applications have been put on hold until a servicing study can provide guidance on future sewer and water capacities. Staff do consider it appropriate to zone the lands at this time. And it is separate, as I've mentioned, from the draft plan of subdivision application, which will come forward at another time when we have more information on servicing capacity. And the reason it's appropriate is that at this time, we're going to be using a holding symbol on these lands. And that holding symbol, of course, has a number of conditions and would be lifted at such time as a bylaw was brought forward to council. Staff had outlined how the conditions were lifted or addressed. And just very high level. So we're taking a development area, DA zone, and we're going to be zoning the lands RS3 with an exception. And that's on those single lots. And in this case, the RS3 will only permit singles. There will be no semis allowed on those lands. And the other zoning will be an RS5 with an exception, and that will go on the townhouse blocks. And in this case, we're going to exempt the lot area of minimum lot area for lots in that area from 200 meters, which is what the bylaw currently requires, to 170 meters squared. And I'll just point out that that's not for all 30 townhouse lots. It's only for a select number. And in most cases, the lots are exceeding the 200 meters. So that was just a little summary here for any questions.
Excellent. Members of council have any questions to Rosalind or other staff? No? Thank you very much, Ross. Good job. Council, we have a mover and seconder, and we are no further questions. Okay, I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving on. We have another zoning bylaw amendment for 2056 and 2100, concession 8 south. Be it resolved, Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report PB 060-2023, a zoning bylaw amendment for 2056 and 2100, concession 8 south Glen Huron, dated August 14, 2023. And that a zoning bylaw for the lands municipally known as 2056 and 2100, concession 8 south Nottawasaga, legally described as Lot 1, West Huron Street, Ontario Street, part blocks E and G, part mill and reserve. Lot 2, what's WS stand for? Not just west south. West side. Maybe we should type that out. West side here, Ontario Street, Plan 497, Concession 8, formerly Nottawasaga, now in the Township of Clearview, be presented to Council for approval at the September 11, 2023 Council meeting. Mover and seconder, please, on that one. Deneen and Walker, thank you. Any questions to staff about this? I think we had a public meeting about this one. Yeah. Roz, anything further?
Sorry, thank you, Councillor or Mayor Measures. I'm happy to give a little summary or
I think we all know the property, right?
Relatively
Yeah.
recently that we had our public meeting. So
Yeah.
June 26th of 2023. So.
Yeah, it's a good report. So thank you very much for that, council. If there's no further questions, I'm prepared to call the motions. All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you. All right. Now we've got another one, PB 063. Where was this? Part lots north side of Quebec Street. Oh, the Quebec Street. Yeah, okay. Be it resolved, Council of the Township of Clearview hereby one, receive report PB 063 2023 part lot control exemption lots 18 to 20 north side of Quebec Street, Plan 103, dated August 14, 2023. And item 2, that part of lot control exemption bylaw for the lands municipally known as 347, 345, 343, 341, 329, 327, 325, and 323 Quebec Street, Stainer, legally described as lots 18 and 20, north side of Quebec Street, Plan 103, formerly Township of Nottawasaga, now Township of Clearview, be presented to council for approval at the August 14th council meeting. That is today. Can I have a mover and seconder on this motion? Where are we at? Deneen once again, and Mr. MacArthur I'll call. Thank you very much. Hi, another wordy little motion for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything you want to add?
No, I'm just here for questions.
Okay.
You want a summary?
Sure. Any questions to our staff, members of council? Oh, okay. Nothing there. All right. Well, this was also part of a public meeting that we had some time ago. Yes. Hello, Amy. You want to say something?
Thank you, Your Worship. If it is amenable to you, we would be more than happy to replace those legal descriptions with municipal addresses where there is one. So if it's not vacant property, we could just do municipal address.
Well, wouldn't that be better for the public too, to understand what they are?
This is a historic practice. I don't see any reason we couldn't use a municipal address.
Yeah, sure. We can change the procedure bylaw later on that'll allow us to actually do that through the work of the planning department.
Sounds good.
That's a great aside. Sorry, I was just teasing you because, I have to read them all. Great. Nothing further, members of council? All right, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Building Department Activities Report. All right. Scott's here with us. Hello, Scott. It's nice to have you here sort of quarterly or so to join us at the meeting. Nice to see you. Council recommendation be it resolved that PB 066 Building Department Activities Report for April to June 2023, dated August 14, 2023, be received. Can I have a mover and seconder? Mr. Broderick and Deputy Mayor, thank you. Hello, Mr. McLeod. Would you like to advise us on anything from this report that stands out in your attention?
Thank you, Your Worship and members of council. I would just highlight the report is for our last quarter. It is showing that we continue to have strong building permit activity. Certainly in comparison to last year, we're not exceeding the numbers that we had last year, but we still are experiencing strong building activity. Certainly in the month of June, there was a lot more single family residential permits issued specific to that month. And and I certainly welcome any questions that council may have.
All right. Thank you very much. Members of council, do you have any questions to Scott or the staff on this one? Yes, Mr. MacArthur.
Yeah, just with that statement, I wonder how close are we getting to the limit that we put on because of the water servicing? Is there many more permits available to your knowledge out there, or building lots available to be built on in the town of Stainers specific?
I will defer to Dan on that in terms of where we're at it, but with the permits that we issued certainly in June, they are representative of one subdivision that has a certain allotment. And we continue to actually issue those permits in July. So you'll see July numbers are quite high associated with that one particular development here in Stainer. That is part of that allotment. But in terms of where we are in terms of the allotment use, I don't have an updated number on that.
All right, perhaps we can go to Dan and or the CAO, I think. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, thank you, Worship, through to Councillor MacArthur. Mr. McLeod is correct. The building permits that are being issued I'd say from March up into present are for phases of development, new development that have water allocation that's already available to them. No, if a property does not have water allocation, they are not being permitted to move forward at this time. And that was as of March of 2023. So there are certain phases and certain developments that have allocation that have yet to start development either. So there'll be some more coming down the pipe, but not too many for the Stainer area.
Mr. CAO, do you want to add anything to that?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just that that water allocation for the development, the planned development in the community was allocated, I think a couple of years ago now. And this is really fulfilling that obligation as they put their building permits in. This is not somebody new coming in with the building permit. These were established a couple of years ago.
Yep. All right. All right. Any other questions from members? Yes, go ahead, Phyllis.
Just maybe Dan, maybe Mike, if he's still here. There was so much allotted for infill still, wasn't there? There was a little bit of opportunity for infill lots that was remaining. And is that being used up?
Mr. Perot.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Councillor Deneen, yeah, that had been exhausted back in March, and that's why the municipality sent out the press release back then that those were dwindling fast up until March, and as of March, called the infill allocation lots that had been used up at that time.
Thank you.
All right, members of council, anything further? All right. Well, Scott, thank you for your report. And council, you've got a motion in front of you with a mover and seconder. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. All right. Let's move over to, oh, look at this. The Clearview Aviation Business Plan. It's finally in front of me. Here it is. Now, council, this recommendation comes to us with two options. And so, as is our procedure, or at least certainly something that I believe in procedurally, is that we should have a complete motion in front of us that is moved and then seconded and then debated and voted on. So I'll read the entire recommendation, and then we will have a discussion without a motion, without any movers or seconders, to determine which option we would choose. Once we choose that, we'll have a simple vote to choose that option, and then we'll put the whole motion together and read the entire motion. It just makes a whole lot of reading for me, but it is the correct procedure when you have a presentation from staff that has options. Okay, so I'll read the entire thing and then we'll hear a presentation from our staff. All right, recommendation be it resolved that report PB 069-2023, the Clearview Aviation Business Park request for a community infrastructure housing accelerator order dated August the 14th, 2023 be received, and option number 1, that council does not consent to proceeding with the process to request a community infrastructure housing accelerator from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and that the proponent is encouraged to submit the required materials to the township to begin the pre-consultation and subsequently the formal application process. Or option number 2, that council consent to proceeding with the process to request a community infrastructure housing accelerator from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and that the proponent be required to submit information and application fees and deposits consistent with the site-specific official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment application, and be responsible for all consultant and legal fees incurred as a result of the CHIA order request, and that council be directed that staff be directed to provide public notice and undertake consultation consistent with the notice requirements and consultation protocols typically of site-specific official plan amendments and zoning bylaw amendment, and that staff be directed to report back to council with a recommendation report, which is 1, summarizing the comments received through the engagement process, 2, specifying the plans and studies that are required to support in support of a CHIA order request and that recommendations conditions. And item 3, which is containing a recommended result to be used by council at its discretion to make a formal request to the minister for a CHIA order. All right, council, I'm going to go directly to our staff. Amy's like to speak now, and we could ask questions of all of our staff who are here who help us make a decision on option 1 or option 2. So, Amy.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I have put together a brief technical report for council's consideration. I won't go over the details of the report, but I will note that it worked to outline the facts of the CHIA tool according to the province's CHIA guideline. So the word process is probably a big word for the CHIA process. It's really not as prescriptive as normal Planning Act processes are. So there's not a whole lot to it prescriptively, like legislatively. So the report also worked to detail the subject property, the property we're dealing with. I think that council is well aware of the lands that we're talking about here. Ms. Menzies did a great job of outlining a bit of the history of the approvals that apply to the property. So some of that background material was also supplied and as part of this report, reflecting briefly on the proposal to request, or to rather embark on the process to make the request to the minister for a CHIA order. And finally, trying to sort of comprehensively conceive of those two options. So depending on council's wish, what might be our next steps for approaching the CHIA order or not, conversely. So I don't have an opinion. The idea here is to sort of get council's assessment of really their idea of the urgency or need for the proposal. So that's something that's fundamentally different from what you normally get from me. So Ms. Menzies is good enough to be here. She does have some experience with the CHIA tool. And I'm also happy to answer questions just generally about the history, about any other matter of relevance for this proposal. So.
Well done. Thank you very much. Council, at this time, ask you, do you have any questions to staff in regards to which option would give you something? Yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor, anybody else? Okay, go ahead, Paul. Any questions to staff?
It's not so much to staff of having read the reports. I think it's very important as people recognize that CHIA is a tool in order to facilitate development. Once you really gets down to it, this property is already zoned for aviation industrial purposes. We need jobs in Clearview. And I think it's important that everybody recognizes what's being proposed here is being supportive of that mandate. So I just want to, having read the report and having talked with the presenter previously, I think it's a great opportunity for everybody to go down the same road and avoid conflict. So I, for one, would like to propose we proceed with option 2.
Okay. I'll take motions in a moment. Looking for other members of council with any questions. Yes, Marty Beelan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Amy, are we capable of doing all these things recommended in option 2, or is that pretty onerous for us? It looks to me like it would be fairly easy. Is that true, or?
Thank you for the question through you, Your Worship. It's certainly something that we can achieve. I've sort of worked to outline a process that is not dissimilar from a planning process, but is catered to the CHIA process. So we do the Planning Act processes every day. So we would use the existing sort of structure we have set up for those processes and just apply it here a little differently.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Marty. Anybody else with any other recommendations or questions? Any questions? All right, I have one. Once we enter into this agreement, if we do move ahead with option number 2, is there a basically a memorandum of understanding between the property owner and us, or is this just part of the process of the official plan review and the zoning planning tools? Like, Because this is an extra tool, I'm unclear as to whether this is an additional agreement.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll ask Chris. She can certainly help me here, but I understand that the outcome would be the order from the minister, if that's where
Yes.
we resulted, would be much like a zoning amendment. So it would effectively amend our policy structure. So Chris can chime in there for sure.
Welcome back to the microphone, Ms. Menzies. I bet you didn't know you were coming back.
No problem. I appreciate it. And Ms. Khan is correct. The order stands in the shoes of a zoning bylaw.
Okay.
So it's effectively a zoning bylaw. But council is the first right of approval or refusal of that bylaw, and then it goes to the minister for ratification.
Okay. All right. So again, entering into this agreement because it puts the responsibility of the proponent to fulfill all of these recommendations and reports, et cetera. That's not something we need as an additional agreement. Correct.
It typically won't culminate in an agreement. It will look and smell and taste like a bylaw. Like when you see the order coming forward, it will look like a zoning bylaw to you.
Okay. All right. That's kind of where I wanted to just understand it because it's a little outside of what I've been doing. First time I've done this one. So this is good. Any other members? Oh, down here. Hi, Phyllis. Thank you. Sorry. I got look in this direction.
So from what I understand is council has the right to refuse to go forward before the minister will approve it. Is that we have the final say and we will know exactly what's going to be there. They don't have carte blanche just to it'll all be in writing what's going to be there.
Right.
If I may,
sure,
to use an analogy, it's very similar to how you deal from a who goes first process, like an official plan amendment. Council is the first one to say, yes, this is the document we are approving, or not. If it's not, the minister never sees it. Very similar to how you deal with an official plan. When you pass an official plan amendment, you're the what us planners call the first right of approval or refusal. And then it goes to the county for approval. A CHIA order comes to council first. And if you say yes and approve it, then it goes to the minister for ratification. If you say no, it never gets to the minister.
And what happens after the minister sees it? Sorry, I'm just trying to think this through. After the minister sees it and say it's all approved in this zoning amendment or zoning bylaw goes through. Any further development that's done under that zoning bylaw doesn't come back to the municipality, it goes through the minister's office?
If I may, through your worship. So other tools that normally would accompany a CHIA order, like a draft plan, a subdivision, which creates lots and blocks, runs through your draft plan process, the minister's not involved. Typically, in this case, the buildings that come forward will be subject to site plan approval. That goes through your process, the minister's not involved. The minister's only involved with the CHIA order, which looks like a zoning bylaw. So the implementation tools after the fact, which in this case is a draft plan, now we're already draft plan approved, or site plan, and we will have to come forward with individual site plans, is the purview of council, full stop, nobody else is involved.
Okay, thank you.
That was helpful. Appreciate that. Members of council, anything further? All right, so we're going to close questions at this point. I'm looking for nominations. Mr. Deputy Mayor, you had a nomination for option 2.
Yes, your worship, I will, I wish my vote to stand for option 2.
Okay. Can I have a seconder? Mr. Beelan, thank you. Any other motions put forward? Seeing none, then we'll call a simple vote on establishing option number 2, and then we'll move to the regular motion. Right? Moved by Mr. Van Staveren, seconded by Councillor Beelan, that option number 2 will be presented to complete the motion. Any questions? All those in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you. Council, I'll read the recommendation and I'll look for a mover and seconder. Here we go. Be it resolved that report PB 069-2023 Clearview Aviation Business Park request for a community infrastructure housing accelerator order dated August 14, 2023 be received, and that council consent to proceeding with the process to request a community infrastructure and housing accelerator from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and that the proponent be required to submit information and application fees and deposits consistent with the site-specific official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment applications, and be responsible for all consultant and legal fees incurred as a result of the CHIA order request, and that staff be directed to provide public notice and undertake consultation consistent with the notice requirements and consultation protocols typical of site-specific official plan amendments and zoning bylaw amendment, and that staff be directed to report back to council with a recommendation report. That item 1 summarizes the comments received through the engagement process. Item 2 specifying the plans and studies that are required in support of a CHIA order request and other recommended conditions. And item 3, which is containing a recommended resolution to be used by council at its discretion to make a formal request to the minister for a CHIA order. Can I have a mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor, can I have a seconder? Mr. Walker, thank you very much. Now, any questions at this point? Seeing no questions, I'll give a quick statement. I'm really glad that we're doing something a little more innovative here. I'm glad that we're able to find a way to make this work. Sometimes planning stuff can be a little onerous for council members. I know you guys are planners, are wonderful people who see this stuff in your sleep. We see a lot of things too. We don't see this stuff in our sleep. So I really appreciate the staff giving us an understanding of how this tool can be applied in this way. Thank you. Council, you've got the motion in front of you. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. And so we thank you very much for that. Council, we got some items here in Public Works. Just before we go, good luck, Remo. Nice to see you. Good luck. All the best to you. Take care. We got some Public Works items here, so we'll deal with those. Report WPB 017-2023. It's 1585 Klondike Park Road Property Lease Agreement. Okay, be it resolved, the Council of Township Clearview hereby one receive report PW 017-2023. It's our 1585 Klondike Park Road Property Lease Agreement dated August 14, 2023, and that a bylaw to enter into a one-year lease agreement with Agila Acres in the amount of $2,200 to farm a portion of the land at 1585 Klondike Park Road be presented at the August 14th council meeting. Can I have a mover and seconder? Deneen and Walker, thank you. Any questions for Public Works? Yes, please go right ahead.
My only comment, I see the leases with Agila Acres. I don't know who they are, so I can't say anything, but I would just think in future, we also look at local farmers who, if there is the opportunity to use local people, our own members, if we can.
Yeah, of course.
And just a comment, but I'm sure our staff has vetted the agreement. So thank you.
All right. Yes, go ahead.
I just want to comment by your report, Dan. Do I understand the 45 acres approximately that this agreement covers is they can use pesticides and fertilizer? That none of this is within the well protected areas?
Dan?
Your worship, that is correct. Like not within, they cannot use any pesticides or any prohibited within that wellhead protection area. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like this 45 acres is outside of that
Outside.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well protection area. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yes, go ahead, Marty.
Thank you, Worship. Just a question. How do we advertise that this land is available for lease? How do we?
Madam Clerk, how do we do that?
Thank you, Worship. I'll have to defer this question to Public Works, specifically Dan Perot or maybe Mike Ron, as he traditionally worked on this agreement with past tenants.
Let's go to Mike Ron since he's joined us there virtually. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Your Worship. So what's happened with this farm, when we bought this property for the wellhead area, it came with a 5-year lease that we had to honor. And that was with a different tenant. The Agila Acres is actually worked in conjunction with the tenant farmer that was on the lands prior. And as the farmers in the audience will understand, the crops, when they do their crop rotating, one crop runs into another and they get into a bit of a cycle. This farmer had entered onto the land and planted corn, not understanding that the original tenant, his lease had ended. So we made an accommodation, we increased the rate. So it's a 1-year lease, and part of that reason is because we may do further well exploration on the north end of that property, which would interrupt that lease. So it would be nice to have a 5-year lease that we would advertise and, have a local guy pick it up. Angela, they're not far away. But to answer the question, the tenant farmer that's in there now worked for the original tenant farmer. And that's, that's going back 6 years. Moving forward, we would advertise that, but we also want to consider having to expand that well field, because as council saw on the tour, that those 4 wells that are located on about 1 acre of land, that'll serve 4,000 houses. We've got another 90 or whatever 50 acres north of that we could explore as well in the future.
Okay. Does that help you, Mr. Beelan? All right. Yeah. Thank you. It was good to get refreshed there, by the way, Madam Clerk, because I recall when we purchased that property that there was a extended lease on the property for the farmer. So that's where that comes back to me now. Great. Anything further? Seeing none, council, you've got a motion in front of you. I'm prepared to call the motion. Those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. All right. Highway 26 pedestrian crossing. Okay. This is kind of a nice one. Ready? Be it resolved, the council of the township of Clearview hereby receive report PW 018-2023, Highway 26 pedestrian crossing bylaw dated August 14, 2023, and that a bylaw to install a pedestrian crossover on Highway 26 north of North Street be presented at the August 14, 2023 meeting. I like that, north of North Street. Can I have a mover and seconder on this? Mr. Walker and Mr. Beelan. Thank you. North of North Street. Perfect. Any questions? It's a bylaw to establish the crossing. Oh, yes, Mr. Walker.
Just to Dan, would you, where I know the work's done, posted there. So when will the lights go on? Do they have them, and are they waiting for this bylaw before they put them up, or what's the next step with the completion of that project?
Mr. Pro.
Thank you, Your Worship, through Councillor Walker. This bylaw really more is an administrative bylaw. It's just the MTO required this bylaw for the municipality to acknowledge that we're putting a pedestrian crossing within the connecting link. So it's more administrative that way. They did mention that we wouldn't be able to energize it until this bylaw was put in place. I believe, I haven't checked, I was on week's vacation. I haven't checked in on the status of the work out there. I believe the last time that there's a controller that's required to activate or to control the lights. So I could provide, I can get an update and provide council with an update on the timing. I just haven't in about a week and a half.
All right. Appreciate that. Anything further? Nothing further. We've got a mover and seconder on a motion. I'm prepared to call it. All those in favor? And thank you. That carries unanimous. Off-road vehicle bylaw. No way. That's not back in our agenda again. You guys. All right. PW 019-2023. Off-road vehicle bylaw 2071. Minor amendment. Recommendation be it resolved, the council of the township Clearview hereby receive report PW 019-2023, the off-road vehicle bylaw minor amendment dated August 14, 2023. Item 2, direct staff to amend Schedule B prohibited roads and Schedule C use map of bylaw 2071 in accordance with the proposed changes outlined in this report, and that the amending bylaw be presented at council for the August 14, 2023 council meeting. Can I have that moved by Mr. Broderick? Is there a seconder? Ms. Deneen, thank you. Mr. Broderick, you want to speak first? Because I know you were a big part of this before I go to the staff. No?
Just I've been waiting for this for a long time.
I understand. Thank you. Dan,
It helps to make some connections.
I understand. Dan, do you have anything you want to add in commentary, or you're comfortable with the
But,
report?
just add that, being approached by the Simcoe County Federation of, not Simcoe County, Central Ontario ATV Club, to help facilitate the completion of this bridge, because some unexpected additional costs to the Blue Mountain snowdrifters is going to be appreciated by all, and that the bridge in essence is complete. There's some safety railing and some additional gravel that's required, that the ATV club may, following opening this, that they can use that bridge, that everybody wins, and we can get this opened. And we are in the process of, just for council's knowledge, that we are in the process of having the signage made up. That was my discussion with the Blue Mountain Snowdrifters, that they agreed on the style and look of the Ed Christie Bridge signage. So that'll be worked on as well to get that installed before this is opened. Also, the municipality, I think we're going to look into some sort of bollard or deterrent, I guess, for larger vehicles. I'll say, pickup trucks and I'll call them mutter trucks, that we can try to prohibit the use of those on that bridge. So it'd be for off-road vehicles and for snowmobiles in the wintertime. So
Okay. Thank you very much for your work on that. I appreciate that. And that's why I went to you first, Councillor Broderick, because I know you've been working with both clubs and the town to try to sort this all out. So thank you very much for that. And Councillor Deneen, you had a question?
No, just a statement. The Appendix B, the Schedule B, prohibited roadways. The second line states that a prohibited roadway, which is concession 6 South Nottawasaga from County Road 91 to the 1819 side road of Nottawasaga, that was amended at the last time we brought this to council. And I have been in contact with Sasha and Dan, and that's going to be taken off that list as a prohibited roadway.
That falls underneath the category of clerical jurisdiction to make that amendment. So thank you for that. Thank you for noticing.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. If there's nothing further. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't look this direction. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I'm just wondering at this time, just to save bringing this at another meeting, would it be appropriate time to add Purple Hill Lane in Creemore? I think we maybe had a bit of an oversight there, as it's a dead end road and has no value of having ATVs on it, other than for the local residents.
Yeah, you and I talked about that briefly, and I was surprised also that this showed up here. So we didn't get connected to make that work. So it would be my recommendation that we bring that forward as another motion another time. That's still what I would recommend at this time, but it's up to you. I mean, what do you want to do?
I'm just thinking to save time and energy, if it can be would it be a friendly amendment at this time, or what would it be?
It's not.
No. Then we will bring it at another meeting.
There you go. Thank you very much. All right, you guys, calm down. All right, we're going to get through this stuff. I know we are. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Nothing further. All right. Thank you, staff, for working on this. Again, Dan, working with the clubs like this, and I know Councillor Broderick has been sort of pushing this along. So thank you very much to all of them. Council, you've got a motion in front of you with a mover and second. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? It does carry. Unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Now, another page. Legislative services. We've got a small amendment that needs to be made to the procedure bylaw, which Sasha and I had a long chat about. So I'm really glad that it's appearing in front of us. Be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby one, receive report LS 021-2023, amending the procedure bylaw 1219 regarding electronic meeting participation dated August 14, 2023. That council supports amending sections 2.5, 2.6, 3.2, 3.65 of the procedure bylaw 1219, allowing the continued electronic meeting participation of council, boards, and committees if the chair and members approve this meeting format. And that the bylaw amendment to procedure 1219 be presented at the August 14th, 2023 regular meeting of council. Can I have a mover? Yes, Mr. Broderick, seconder. Deneen, thank you. Clerk, going to say anything more on it? Just a change?
Thank you, Worship. Yes, that's correct. It's just a change. It's already putting what we are doing in practice actually on paper into our procedure bylaw.
Correct. Which basically says that the boards and committees can meet on Zoom if they wish to or not. It's up to the chair. Basically, that's what we're putting down. Simple form. Any questions? No, seeing none. I'll call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries unanimous. Thank you. Council Chambers Accessibility Renovation Project. Okay, we have two recommendations. So we'll go through the first one and then we'll do the second one because that's how they're written out. Be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby one, receive report LS 022-2023 Council Chamber Accessibility Renovation Project dated August 14, 2023. And that council approves the fee submission from Ted Handy and Associates Incorporated Architecture in the amount of $21,000 plus HST and disbursements to complete the architectural services required for the council chamber accessibility renovation. Mover and seconder. Mr. Broderick and Mr. Deputy Mayor, thank you very much. Any questions? All right, the report's pretty good. Glad to see it's moving forward. Anything further? And I'll call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. All right. Council, we got a recommendation in front of us, but it does not have completion. So again, I'll read it and then we'll look for a discussion as to how to complete this recommendation. Be it resolved, Council of the Township of Clearview hereby one, appoint the following two council members to work with township staff and the architectural firm in providing drawings for council's approval for the council chamber accessibility renovation project, and that councillor and other councillor be named. Nominations? Yes, Mr. Walker? My name forward. You're going to put your name forward? Very good. Anybody else? Mr. Deputy Mayor?
I'll put my name forward.
Is there anybody else putting their name forward? I'm putting my name forward. I'd like to be on this committee. Thank you very much. So now we have three. Madam Clerk, you can now conduct a mini election.
Are we allowed, Your Worship? Your Worship. Hey, you. Can we go with three people? That's right. Why don't we just do a friendly amendment to the motion that we have?
Amend the motion?
To three people.
I'm comfortable with that. Are you comfortable with that?
Yes, appointing three people is actually good as long as we don't go over four to have a quorum of council. I'm good with three.
All right. So we'll go. If it's three, that means nobody else can attend. You got that? Can't just drop in for coffee. Not allowed.
Four and over.
First of all, to be official, is everybody okay with that? Having three? Okay. All right. So that's amended. Yes, Marty.
I think it's a good move to have you three because this guy's been here around a lot, so he knows more about what's needed in this chamber.
Sure.
And then we've got new brains on the chair too. So there you go.
What does he call you?
New face. Thank you very much. All right. Okay. Any questions? Good. Council, I'll read the recommendation and I'll look for a mover and seconder. Be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby one, appoint the following three council members to work with the township staff and the architectural firm to provide drawings for council approval for the council chambers accessibility renovation project. Councillor Walker, Deputy Mayor Van Stavern, Mayor Doug Measures. Can I have a mover and seconder? Mr. MacArthur, seconded by Deneen. Thank you. Any questions? When do we meet? When's the first meeting? I want to get going on this. When do we meet? No idea.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the rest of council. So after tonight's meeting, I'll work with Baz, who's our project manager here at the township. He's been working behind the scenes with this project. We can finally agree to the fee submission from Ted Handy, and they know that we are looking to move forward on this project to get the tender out to see some actual costs. So
Good.
we are going to be moving quickly on this project.
All right, thank you very much for that. Members of council, you've heard the motion. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. Well done, committee. We've got some bylaws here, do we not? Yes. No, it's a report first, then bylaws. I didn't want to miss this one. Okay, council, we have another report from the clerk's department. It's the amend the vending bylaw 2162. I'll read the recommendation. It is be it resolved that council of the township of Clearview hereby one, receive report LS 023-2023, amend the vending bylaw 2162 regarding Creemore BIA approval authority and dated August 14, 2023. And item 2, that council supports amending section 2.12, 3.32, and 6.4 of vending bylaw 2162 as outlined in this report. And that the amending bylaw be presented at the August 14, 2023 regular meeting of council. Okay, mover and seconder. Where are we at? Mr. Broderick and Mr. Beelan, you good with that? Okay, Broderick Beelan, thank you. Madam Clerk, do you want to outline this? And I can see them, perhaps the CAO would like to speak to. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Worship, and I will let CAO Ferguson also speak to this. I'll just do a quick overview. So back in 2014 is when we first approved our vending bylaw. At that time, the Creemore BIA made a presentation because they at first weren't named in the bylaw. They had asked to be a commenting authority. For whatever reason, council at that time did choose to make it an approval authority on location only. We did do an overhaul of this bylaw in 2021. That was through the Director of Community Services at the time. And that portion of the bylaw did not change or was not reviewed. And then now that we've been getting a few more vending applications in the Creemore BIA district, our CAO made some comments in regards to possible conflicts of interest. And I'll let CAO Ferguson speak to that.
Thank you. Mr. Ferguson.
Thank you, Your Worship. The bylaw inadvertently could place a BIA member in an interest situation where they could have the same type business operation that they may be asked to put a temporary stall within their area, and they may be resistant to that because of the competition. So the idea was not to put the BIA in an interest situation where they potentially could be in a conflict. The other aspect of this is that in the legislation, and I believe the section was 153 of the Municipal Government Act, that states that you cannot make a decision on a stall in a community based on a location alone. So the actual clause was not consistent with legislation either. So that was basically the general outcome of the legal opinion that we had received.
Okay. All right. And further to that, if I can add, this information was shared with the members of the BIA board. Is that correct? Yeah.
Well, that's correct, Your Worship. We met with them, I think just over a week ago and explained, and I believe a lot of the BIA members felt actually quite good that that was being taken out of their responsibility.
Very good. All right. Members of council, is there any questions? No questions? Yes, no, maybe? No? Okay. All right, council, you've heard this recommendation. I appreciate the staff doing this work to review it. So thank you for that. Yes, Mr. Ferguson.
Just add one thing. They will still have a recommending role as a part of this process. And there's a timeline on that of 2 weeks, just so that council's aware that that process will stay in play.
Yeah. So for clarity, they will still be a commenting agency on the application, not an approval authority on the application. So good. All right, members of council, you've heard nothing further. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? Right, carries unanimous. Thank you. All right, council. Now, Madam Clerk, we do have bylaws. Here we go. Bylaws, zoning bylaw amendment for 2562 County Road 124. Recommendation be it resolved. Bylaw 23-70, being a bylaw to regulate the use of lands and character, location, and use of buildings and structures on lands municipally known as 2562 County Road 124 Clearview, and legally described as south part of Lot 23, Concession 9, formerly Nottawasaga, now in Clearview, be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed on the 14th day of August, 2023. Can I have a mover and seconder? Mr. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Ms. Deneen. Thank you. Any questions? You've heard the bylaw. All those in favor? And the bylaw carries. Thank you. A bylaw 2371, part lot control exemption for lot 18 and 20, north side of Quebec Street, Plan 103. Be it resolved that bylaw 2371, being a bylaw to exempt the lands from part lot control provisions of the Planning Act, be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed 14th day of August, 2023. Mover and seconder, please. Mr. Walker, Mr. Beelan, thank you. Council, you've heard the bylaw. I'm prepared to call the bylaw. All those in favor? Bylaw carries. Thank you. This is the lease agreement we talked about at Agila Acres. Be it resolved, bylaw 2372, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a lease agreement with Agila Acres to farm a portion of the lands located at 1585 Klondike Park Road, be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed on the 14th day of August, 2023. Can I have a mover? Mr. Deputy Mayor and Mr. Broderick, thank you. And you've heard the bylaw? Okay, I'll prepare to call the bylaw. All in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. Designation of a pedestrian crossover bylaw. Be it resolved that bylaw 2373, being a bylaw to designate a section of Highway 26 within the jurisdiction of the Township of Clearview as a pedestrian crossover, be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed on the 14th day of August, 2023. Pedestrian bylaw is moved by Deneen, seconded by Walker. Thank you. You've heard the bylaw. I'll call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries unanimous. Thank you. Next page. Oh my goodness, there's another whole page of them. Teasing you, you know that, right? Thank you. Amending bylaw number, this is the off-road vehicle bylaw 2071. Be it resolved that bylaw 2374, being a bylaw to amend Schedule B and Schedule C of off-road bylaw 2071, be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed 14th day of August, 2023. Okay, moved by Deneen, seconded by B. Lynn. Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll prepare to call the motion. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Bylaw, thank you. Amend the procedure bylaw 1219 regarding electronic participation. Be it resolved, bylaw 2375, being a bylaw to amend the procedure bylaw 1219 to clarify electronic meeting participation by council, local boards, or committees, be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed 14th day of August, 2023. Moved by Mr. MacArthur, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Thank you. You've heard the bylaw. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call the bylaw. All in favor? And that carries unanimous. Thank you. Amending the vending bylaw for 2162 Creemore BIA commenting agency. Be it resolved that bylaw 2376, being a bylaw to amend the vending bylaw 2162 to clarify that Creemore Business Improvement Area Board of Management as a commenting agency, be presented and read a first, second, and third time, finally passed on the 14th day of August, 2023. Moved by Mr. Broderick, seconded by Mr. MacArthur. Thank you. You've heard the bylaw. I'll call the bylaw. All those in favor? That carries unanimous again. Thank you. All right, council, we're at the item 30. That's the end of bylaws, correct? You got it. Okay. Notice of motion. Councillor Beelan, you want to investigate the rumble strips at certain intersection along County Road 9. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I'll read the bylaw and then we'll look for a second.
I'd like to amend it.
You're going to amend it?
I would like to.
So procedurally, should he amend it or should we put it on the floor?
Put it on the floor and then amend.
Yeah, I'm going to, Councillor Beelan, I'm going to put it on the floor. I'm going to look for a mover and secondary. You'll be the mover. I'll call for a seconder. Councillor Beelan, motion, whereas rumble strips are used by municipalities on roadways as an additional tool to indicate a stop sign ahead. Whereas to make drivers more aware of their duties to stop at the intersection of Centerline Road and County Road 9 and the intersection of County Road 9 and 3-4 side road, it would be beneficial to add rumble strips to indicate stop signs ahead. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby direct the Deputy Director of Public Works to investigate the cost to add rumble strips to these two intersections and report back to Council with the cost and timeline to commence the work. Moved by Councillor Beelan, seconded by Councillor Walker. Thank you. Mr. Beelan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do believe that these flashing beacons will serve the same purpose as the rumble strips, as will the painted stop ahead on the pavement. So I'd like to amend the motion to instead of getting the price and that on rumble strips, to get a price on a flashing sign that warns traffic that the cross traffic does not stop.
A flashing sign that says
It's
cross
an
traffic.
amber flashing sign that warns traffic on center line and 3-4 that the cross traffic does not stop.
Very
I
good.
think you were investigating that already, and you might even have a price for us now. I'm not sure. I think Councillor Deneen had a picture of one
She
that
did,
was sent.
yeah.
So
Hey, can I just look to the clerk? Can you just help me out on what this is going to look like as an amendment?
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor Beelan. Just to double check, are you looking to also include this on top of the investigation of the cost for rumble strips, or remove rumble strips completely from the motion?
remove rumble strips and put the flashing sign.
So in the last sentence there and at the beginning sentence, we will remove rumble strips to include cross traffic does not stop warning signs with flashing yellow beacons. Quite wordy, but that is the best way, I think, to describe the sign, unless our Deputy Director of Public Works has a better description.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, I tried to come up with better wording than that, but that's what the sign will say. It's a warning sign with a flashing beacon on the top, and it's placed ahead of the stop sign, or upstream from the stop sign.
Okay. So I get it, and I appreciate where this amendment's going. If you don't mind, I would like to have it on paper so it's clear for everybody. So I'm going to give the clerk a minute to write it up, and then I'm going to get her to read it so I can stop talking for a while. How's that?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I just want to caution us in not being too wordy on the sign, because people may not understand it as they're driving up. And it would be probably wise to investigate what the best language would be, if any language is needed for a caution sign. I might suggest that refer it to us and to see what would be the normal ergonomic acceptable process.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I'll turn my mic off. Go ahead.
That's okay. Grade 40 and grade 2 it's a really bad intersection that's had a lot of accidents at. And this is what they put there. And I took notice of it right away because there was so much verbiage on the sign that I had to read it. That's all. And that's a really, really bad intersection. And that's where that sign was.
What does that sign say?
It says cross traffic does not stop.
John?
That language sounds a little better. I just want to make sure that whatever we put on, it's ergonomically acceptable for roadways, just to be certain.
Can I show John?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Madam Clerk, are you almost there?
There.
Oh, you're there. All right. So for the benefit of everybody, this is an amendment put forward by Councillor Beelan. Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to the rest of the council. So by removing rumble strips, this is how the motion would read. Whereas cross traffic does not stop warning signs are used by municipalities on roadways as an additional tool to indicate a stop sign ahead or an intersection ahead where traffic is not stopping. And whereas to make drivers more aware of their duties to stop at the intersection of Center Line Road and County Road 9 and the intersection of County Road 9 and the 3-4 side road, it would be beneficial to cross traffic does not stop warning signs to indicate the intersection ahead. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby direct the Deputy Director of Public Works to investigate the cost to add cross traffic does not stop warning signs to these two intersections and report back to Council with the cost and timeline to commence works. I know that there has been some discussion to make it simpler to add traffic calming measures. But that would be up to Councillor Beelan with his amendment once he gets a seconder, if that would be amenable to use those terms rather than cross traffic warning signs.
Okay, I followed along. I hope everybody else did. Councillor Beelan, are you comfortable?
I'm comfortable with adding traffic calming measures. Yes.
Okay, so Madam Clerk, you want to add that word in there?
Do you want that word in addition to the cross traffic signs, or?
I think the cross traffic sign is a traffic calming measure, so it would be included in there.
Okay. All right. Council, there's an amendment to the original motion. I'll look for a seconder. Is there a seconder on the amendment? Mr. Broderick, thanks very much. All right. Would you like to discuss the amendment? We're going to vote on the amendment first. A vote on the amendment first. Councillor Beelan and the seconder. Who was the original seconder? God, we just forgot that. It was you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Deputy Mayor was the original seconder. So much typing going on over here. Oh, good. Now, there's an amendment on the floor. Has anybody got any questions on the amendment? Questions on the amendment? Then we'll vote on the amendment, then we'll vote on the whole motion. Any questions on the amendment? Seeing none. On the amendment, those in favor? That's a unanimous. Well done. Motion has now been changed. Original motion now stands with an amendment. Anybody got any comments you want to say? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
My comment to Councillor Beelan, I don't know if it's appropriate, and I don't want to call this a learning experience, but we've already agreed that we're going to reduce the speed limit. We know we're getting a flashing light. I'm just questioning if this is necessary all at once, or do you want to see the effect of the speed reductions and stuff like that, and if necessary, add those additional flashing lights? Just a comment.
I remember an engineering joke where there was people falling off a balcony and they said there's too many people falling off a balcony, and the engineer said, I fixed the balcony. Now there's the appropriate number falling off. There's never an appropriate number of accidents there. So I think anything we can do to help. And I think this will tell people you better slow down. And just like the mayor said, you've ordered a sign that said high accident rate intersection. I think this will all help to warn people this, you need to stop and have a good look. So I think it is necessary. Yes.
Mr. MacArthur?
Yeah, my comment is it doesn't hurt to investigate. We're just investigating the cost at this time, and like it'll probably be late fall or spring before this will actually be in place. So
any further? Yes, no? Everybody, any other questions? Dan, how quickly do you think you'd be able to produce this type of information?
Worship, the information has already been produced.
Has it?
So like, as
Okay.
early as the next meeting, I could.
All right, well, that's pretty timely. I have to blend with the deputy mayor's comment, and that is, like you said, how much do we want to do, and do we want to see what has been effective, what hasn't been effective? We could do any number of things right now, and there'd still be an accident because somebody would still go through the intersection, which is the reality. So all I can say is that all of these type of measures will be placed upon those intersections to try to mitigate it in our best effort. But again, the behavior of drivers is what the biggest problem is in all the things that we hear about in our township. Speeding everywhere. I have had a comment about the Poplar Side Road speeding. You know that? In 2008, we reduced the speed from 80 down to 50 on the Poplar Side Road. And now I've got people complaining about speeding on the Poplar Side Road. It's like, so I hear you. All right. It's one more step. Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may, your worship, I also would be concerned with adding too much too soon. Council has already passed the speed reduction for a certain section. So essentially, we're going to add at a minimum, we're going to add 2 signs in each direction. So 2 signs southbound, 2 signs south of the intersection. So we're basically adding, 8 signs to that area with the speed reduction at a minimum. I wasn't aware that the county, that was the first that I heard that the county is putting a flashing beacon on, red flashing beacon. So,
They just told me that yesterday.
yeah. So adding another sign with another flashing beacon, and I don't know how those are going to react. So I think as part of my report back to council, I think as well as consulting with our traffic consultant, I'll consult on this as well prior to bringing that back to council with that specific device.
Okay.
That would be my game plan. That
Again, keep up the great work. We appreciate it. All right. Thank you, members of council. Is there nothing further? Anything further? Any other questions? Any other comments? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, we've got a motion in front of us. I don't want to read it over again, but we just want to highlight that this is an amended motion where we've removed rumble strips, and we've added the stop traffic calming measures. I'm getting really tired. I get exhausted quickly now. Thank you. Members of council, you got a motion in front of you. We got a mover and seconder. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That's a unanimous vote once again. Thank you very much. Okay, we got a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of our council meeting. Be it resolved, bylaw 2377 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the August 14th, 2023 council meeting be presented and read a first, second, third time, finally passed on the 14th day of August, 2023. Mr. Dean, Mr. Beelan, thank you. All those in favor? Bylaw, thank you. That carries. And sitting alone all by itself on page 11 is the motion to adjourn recommendation. Be it resolved, the council meeting be adjourned at 7:45. I thought it was later than that. All right. Moved by the deputy mayor and seconded by Mr. MacArthur. All those in favor? Thank you. Council, enjoy yourself at AMO and have a great week. We'll catch up with everybody at our September council meeting. Good night.